Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. There are a couple of big clubs making a resurgent charge to the top 8. But Matthew Lloyd, it's the AFL's newest team, which made all the fuss on the weekend.
Oh, they were brilliant yesterday, Damo, the GWS Giants, and it's just across the board. I don't know if they've got a weakness at the moment, and I've been one of those people who said they cannot win it this year because they haven't had that experience, but the way they're playing at the moment, they're probably the most informed side of the competition.
Is it sustainable, Gordy? I suppose that's what you're getting to, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't see why it isn't, Damo. I think you look at all these clips and you've got young players like Dylan Shield, who he's probably a 75, 80 game player now, so they're coming into their prime. But all the players in these clips, like Stevie Johnson, I wasn't sure about this recruitment. I thought the game had passed him by. But his season has been phenomenal this year, just keeps doing it week after week. Reece Palmer's been good, Scully, Mumford, Ward. So they've got so much experience with those young kids.
What I like most when it's all said and done after what happened yesterday was the loss of Bunteen and Moore early on, and yet they're able to just hold it together and maintain the buffer they got very early in the game, throughout the game.
Yeah, and all their stats are that of a premiership winning side in terms of they're up there for the #1 attacking side. They're top 4 in defence. So as it stands here right now, they're probably the most informed team and the team to beat.
Tim's been under siege regularly throughout the course of 2016 as Collingwood, though. They've had it together. A good win last week, albeit against a lesser opposition. But when you beat Geelong, Lordo, I think you can lay claim to having got things back on track.
Oh, yeah. They had a plan for Geelong, and that was to stifle their ball movement and just not like guys like Dangerfield, Motlop run and carry it. And that takes discipline. And they didn't have that weeks ago. Adam Treloar came out and said, we just haven't got players doing what they need to be doing for their side. And they're now doing it. It's amazing what a win can do. Last week they played really well. And this moment here, maybe what this guy has done for the morale around the group, Mason Cox, everyone said, you've got to play Cloak, you've got to play Cloak. He stuck to his guns. Nathan Buckley paid this guy, and it's paying dividends.
I was a sceptic when it came to his selection in the Anzac Day game, but he's been outstanding, hasn't he? He really has. It's given him a spark.
Oh, it was amazing. And the grab he took against Harry Taylor late in the game was that of a 200-game player. And it took a tweet from Justin Madden. We'll never forget that goal he kicked many, many years ago. And he said, it took 15 years of my career at Carlton to learn to do this, and less than 5 games for Mason Cox. Fantastic. It's just a story that everyone's talking about. Yeah,
the wobbly bounce is what he's referring to there. And then Mason yesterday had this on Twitter, that awkward moment when you have to go to an Auskick clinic and teach kids how to play footy. Who have played longer than you, 40 games. So did it very well. Jeremy Howe, again, a lot of criticism, a lot of teething issues initially with what happened off the field, and now he's playing well and playing a crucial style for what Collingwood's about.
Yeah, it took 11 marks across half-back. They actually recruited him to play in the forward line, but because they've got such poor ball use across half-back and they've lost some players, they've moved him to defence. He's been a tease for a long, long time in his AFL career, and let's just hope the move for him to defence and to a new club can change that, because he was a star on the weekend.
The kicking we're looking at here, it's very precise. Have you regarded him in the past as a good kick?
Yeah, he's been a good kick, but he's been, he might get a handful of possessions as a forward, take a hanger. But, he's been sort of, a bit of a, as I said, he'll take a big hanger, but not do too much in between.
The recruits that Collingwood have brought in have copped some heat this year. Treloar, not one of them, but he was good again. But even on the weekend, Crisp and Adams and also White is surprising people.
Yeah, and Greenwood did the job on Joel Selwood as well. And just on Taylor Adams, he's the one player. I asked Jeremy Howe, who's the one player at Collingwood who's surprised you of how good he has been? He said Taylor Adams. I think he could be the next captain of Collingwood. That's how highly they regard him there. So been a great turnaround over the last fortnight from the Pride.
Richmond did what it had to do against Fremantle over in Perth. They've now got a stretch of matches, Lordo, which looms as nice for them. They're going to start favourite in at least 3 of those games, possibly 4. And even the one that looks hard on paper now, North Melbourne down there in Hobart, it's not going to be a gimme, I wouldn't have thought, for North.
No, they've got a lot of work to do, Damo. Great couple of weeks for them, but they're 2 games now and 35% behind Adelaide in 8th position. So they have to get on a massive roll as they did 2 years ago.
Someone who brings energy and vibrancy and bounce and something that almost is contagious to a footy team is this man, Christian Petrarca. Since he made his debut a few weeks ago, he's just been everything of that, hasn't he? And you can just see the energy with which he struts his stuff. It's something that's looming as a really key part of what's happening to the Demons.
They're one of the great stories of 2016. Finally, the consistency we're getting from Melbourne, all these early draft selections coming together to play good footy. And Petrarca, he's got a basketball background. He could have played high-level basketball. He's chosen football. And you see some of these highlights. He's just so strong. he's not a young recruit. This is a guy ready to explode, even just as a 5 or 6 game player.
Another 10-goal loss for the Lions, and they were okay early by their standards of 2016, but in the end they were not able to sustain any form of pressure, and this happening late in the piece, it's just too easy for Melbourne.
Yeah, along with the Gold Coast and Essendon, they're the worst 3 sides in the competition, and it's for a lack of effort. We watch that edit there and you think, how does Harms get out the back like this? But where's the work rate? Two players there, Steph Martin and Zorko there, just didn't work hard enough. Those guys have been around a long, long time, but no wonder Justin Leppage is pulling his hair out. This is another one. Just the ease at which Ben Kennedy can run down the ground and hit up a target. Even I'd love to be back playing again, Damo, with if I had a Melbourne jumper on, because that's just not good enough. And geez, it's a worry up there. We spoke about it last week, but I'm not sure where Leppich goes next, because he's just not getting the response from his player that he needs.
Introduced a first gamer by the name of Reece Matheson to the equation, and he gave a spark at times, Lotto. But take me through, please, as a retired footballer and someone who takes pride in their performance, what we're seeing here with him getting free kicks for... Look, he's probably creating some of the free kicks. Now, 1 or 2 might be here with these head-high kicks, but free kicks. But what do you make of this?
Well, he's a former Geelong Falcon, and he's probably been watching Joel Selwood for the last 5 or 6 years and thinking, OK, that's all part of the rules. If you can work within them and drop at the knees or drop the shoulders, well, you'll get free kicks.
Getting some advice here?
Yeah, I think, there's Neil Bullen, who gave away the first free kick. They were disappointed in the way he was going about it. I'll be interested to see if his coaches speak to him and say, try not to go down that track, but Piopolo and Selwood have been doing it for years.
Is it a good look?
It's not a great look, but as I did work with Lee Matthews, he says if you can get away with it, do it. They've just got to tackle better.
Yep. North Melbourne, 4-quarter performance against Carlton, which is what they needed to do given their sort of lacklusterish efforts against Essendon and St Kilda in previous weeks. Are we convinced yet?
Oh, you've got to be convinced that they're going to be thereabouts. If they can, they're always coming from 5th or 6th, and they get a great run into the top 4 by winning a final or 2. They're setting themselves up with this 9-0 run, 2 games clear on top, to get a home final and an easier passage through to the grand final. Yep. And Robbie Tarrant is probably just arguably the All-Australian centre-half back. Will play on Franklin Friday night in Sydney. It's going to be the match of the round. OK. You mentioned Sydney. They defeated Hawthorn in the Friday just gone as well. Now, the Hawks, Lordo, lost to Swans, GWS and Geelong, so they're still sitting nicely at 6 and 3, but there's some good quality oppositions they've lost to. Yeah, I'm worried about them, to be honest. They've got a soft run coming up with 3 games they should win, so they may well get to 9 and 3, but I think they rely now on too much on Gunston forward. Obviously, we won't see Ruffhead again. Too much on Mitchell through the midfield. And opposition are being smarter with the way they occupy Josh Gibson. So there are some concerns. Their bottom-end depth isn't great either. Yep. OK, we got through 8 rounds of football, 72 matches in total, Lordo, without one deliberate rush behind being paid. We then get to round 9 and we see this paid against Spur of the Dockers. I don't have an issue with that decision per se, because I think that's what the rule was introduced for, or the interpretation after the 2008 grand final. But it has to be said, this is policy on the run, isn't it? This happened yesterday too, where Pierce Hanley also got pinged. So we've now got 2 incidents of this. And again, I've got no drama with that decision, but why leave the previous 72 matches alone when it comes to this rule? Well, obviously they've been getting away with it, and they felt like they've let it slip. So you believe, even though they've let them go the previous 8 rounds, you just let it go for the rest of the year. Is there anything wrong with what they've done to say, we haven't been policing this well enough? Yeah, let's get on top of it now. It's such a marked change now as to how we're going to be policing those incidents between now and the remainder, all through the grand final, where I don't know how you can do it on the run. I mean, if you want to do it fine, but don't bring it in, 9 rounds into a season. I just think it's too big a shift for the players and the coaches too. There's clearly some confusion. Now, the AFL sent out a memo and an email, and that's fine, but clearly some coaches didn't get it, and maybe they need to make it more of a song and dance. And look, the media didn't get it either. I mean, we're part of it too, so we need to explain to the fans why it's happening. Yeah, fair call. And we like to finish with a few funnies. And Sean Hampson, we speak about ruckman every week. It's just sometimes they just don't know what they're doing. This is big Sean Hampson. He's taken a big grab. Marking's not his strength, and he's taken one. But what he's done is he's gone the wrong way, Damo. So these ruckmen... Alex Ransdell. I know. And we saw Segler on Friday night handball to the back of a player. Langford, but big Shawnee Hampson. He's done that 2 weeks in a row, but good on him. Yeah, he got the help the Tigers get the win.
Go to yesterday too, with a bit of a skirmish between the Bombers and the Saints, and Orazio Fantasia trying to get into the action here, Lord, but being hampered in so doing.
Yeah, this was funny. It was like the little brother being stopped by the big brother there. We'll see it again here. He's trying to help out Bagley, who Montagna was getting at, just couldn't get in the action, the young fella.
Let me in.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Hey, thank you for your time today, Lotto, as always.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you next week on Access All Areas. Have a good week. Goodbye.